Welcome. Hey, Magnus here, and today I'm going to test or actually play with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K as a vlogging camera. Now this has come up a lot of times whether this camera would be good or not for vlogging. Now there's one of the most important limitations that I'm giving myself on today is to be light and as practical as possible. So that requires a lot. And the reason why I want to be as light as possible when you see others vlogging with like a 1DX Mark II or something like that is because this camera, though light, can get top heavy with the lens. So because it's so light and then the lens would be so heavy in the front, unless you get a much lighter lens or a flat lens, it tends to be cumbersome. So I would try to limit yourself because you can go all out, put a monitor, microphone, all that other stuff, battery pack, and really build this thing up. But then that's not practical for vlogging. So I want to be as discreet and as simple as possible. So let me explain my design choices before I actually go vlogging. So if you think it's unfair that something didn't work out for me because I didn't add on something, or I could have been easier if I had like a side monitor here, well, at the same time, practicality is what we're aiming for, especially if you're just aiming to get the camera itself. But let me explain how I'm putting this thing together. First, I don't have any lenses that are micro four thirds lenses. So I'm using a Speedbooster and an EF lens. I'm using the 11 to 20 Tokina 2.8 lens. The reason I'm using this lens is a couple reasons. First, the whole thing doesn't move when you zoom in and out, which is great. And the second thing is that you get a really wide angle when you record, which is awesome. Also, thinking of practical purposes with this camera, I've got battery in here, EF battery, but then I've got a ton of backup batteries. Now, why use this rather than a battery pack? Battery pack would add weight to this, and these you can kind of fit a couple in your pocket and you'd be just fine. So, or I've got 5 here. I think that should last me a pretty good vlogging time. And one already in the camera, believe it or not. Then I've got the Joby tripod. Now this thing is basically for holding this thing out as far as possible if I need to. And I really don't need to, but it'll add purpose to it. So I've got no image stabilization with this setup, so the best way to vlog, I would suggest, is set it down somewhere, speak. If you're gonna walk, keep it limited because you don't wanna give somebody a headache with that. But at least as if you're zoomed out a lot, the shakes will be less prevalent when compared to a zoomed in view. All right, so you could use a stabilized lens. This is a 35mm stabilized lens, but at 35mm I'd be zoomed in way too much. So I'm starting off with this, and then I might switch a couple of shots to this lens. But start off with the widest angle that you could, and if you've got image stabilization, go with that. Normally I would have a microphone. I mean, a lot of vloggers have a microphone, but again, keeping the weight limited is what I'm trying to do. Not that a microphone adds a lot of weight, but the onboard microphones are really good. I actually put them in competition with the microphones that I would have like overhead, and they're just, it's almost useless. Why add a microphone when you've got good stereo microphones on this camera when compared to like a DSLR? So that changes that. One of the added tributes is, okay, I don't have portable hard drive, which is what I would normally record to, but I do have as media for this particular case, because I'm also trying to keep it inexpensive as well. Well, this card is kind of pricey, but it's a Sandisk Extreme Pro UHS 1 512GB card. It's not UHS 2, you're not going to get higher speeds out of it, but you can record compressed 4:1 RAW on this card and on 24 frames per second. Actually, let me check if I could do 60. Take the lens off. I'm going to try to do 60. Dropped frames almost immediately. So no, you can't record 60 frames per second RAW on this card. I'm going to stick to 24 frames per second. So that's my setup that I've got for now. 87 minutes on this card. I would also bring a backup card just in case. I've got a ton here, so I'll just bring the whole pack. And let's see what vlogging's like. Here we go. Alright, starting off. Now it's kind of weird that I'm also vlogging but holding a camera because I'm about to do a job, but that's how it goes. So I imagine you're shaking like a madman. Image stabilization would be a plus, but there's an auto exposure mode on this camera which helps, and plus since I'm filming in compressed RAW, I can tweak this shot a little later if necessary. So, auto exposure mode, huge plus. Now why wouldn't I film in ProRes? That's a preference, but if you film in ProRes, you'll be able to save card space when compared to filming RAW. But that's a preference issue. This camera could probably go a lot longer, probably a couple hours on this SD card if I filmed in ProRes. Oh well. Off to the road and here we go. Hope I look good so far, but holding this camera is actually pretty comparable, if not light, when compared to DSLR. And my shot, I know I'm centered, I can't do creative shots, but again, I'm used to using a camera without an LCD or flip out screen, so that's not an issue. I'm not using an ND filter for outside shots, specifically because I don't even know if I'm in focus. So it's easier to close down the iris and get the aperture to make my depth of field a little bit larger. That way a not so shallow depth of field gets you more in focus, and with a camera like this where you can't control the focus, it probably helps out. Anyway, here we go.
Get less economic benefit than they expected out of the agreement. Is that going to be sufficient for them to accept these restrictions for a period of time and sort of see how it plays out? It's possible that they will stay in, that they won't withdraw. The Europeans are going to do everything.
Here I am. One of the things I want to talk about is when I started the vlog, it was like at 98% battery. When I started recording outside, granted I turned it on and off a few times to check a few settings, but now as I recorded that first opening shot showing you where I'm at 66%. So that's one thing that's also got to be kept in mind, and why I brought so many batteries, because you're limited. I mean, I have a lot of space on the card, but I have a funny feeling that a couple of batteries will die before space dies in the actual memory card. Anyway, I'm going over to the coffee house to get a few shots. I'm not going to take you inside because it's crowded and I got to work, but I'll be back when it's done. See you later. Taking a quick break from the shoot. Going to send a few pictures Wi-Fi from my camera straight to the client, which is very convenient. What email address? Okay. When it came to composing this shot inside the shop, I let the auto exposure take control. I checked white balance, just normal, usual stuff. The one annoying nuisance was, of course, setting autofocus. Now, if you've got one of those lenses where you can just hold it out like that, because it's micro four thirds, or if they update Metabones, then you should be okay. And knowing that the red light's on, at least composing this shot is not hard at all. But there's no indicator on whether the battery's dying or not. Other thing is that the battery life starts to worry me, so let me check it. At 48%, the few scenes that I've recorded already. Should be just fine. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, just finished the shoot, and that went well. On to my next destination. Battery life 36% on the first battery. Got a ton of batteries left, but for this camera, not so bad. Let's move on to the next shot. Come on.
Whoopsie. Anyway, so what do they do at the workshop? Well, they inject Wade with this serum that'll awaken any mutant genes he might have. And
just check the battery. It's at 27%. I took auto exposure off because I noticed that down here, I don't know why there's a car beeping behind me, but anyway, because I'm in a car, outside it's pretty bright, but inside it's kind of dark, so it's a mixture of exposure. So I wanted to give the camera a break and actually judge the exposure on my own terms. But what that means is f-stop is real low. It's at 2.2, f2.2 on the camera, and I'm hoping that I have the focus right. And I'm really pushing this battery. Hopefully this footage doesn't go, but I'm really pushing this battery to see if I can get it. Now, for most of the quick shots that I was making, I was successful. I'm pulled over, by the way, don't think I'm driving. But I was successful in getting whatever shots I needed so far on one battery. But there's one thing that I discounted. Forget about time lapses, and forget about too many times making establishing shots. So no time lapses, no slow-mo. At least I could have done slow-mo, but I haven't. So I've been using it very sparingly, but not on purpose, because I think I have enough batteries for the day that I brought with me. But it's just because my day consisted of inability to. And for a time lapse, unless I have a full battery, I don't even want to risk a time lapse, because the worst thing is having it sit there for a long time for a quick time lapse. Here I am on my second attempt. Now, I had just recorded this whole setup and my battery was at around 38%. I probably spoke for about a minute and a half to 2. Hang on. And time flashes forward pretty quickly. But I get interrupted 1 second and turns from day to night. Anyway, battery now at 16% and I barely used it. And I'm waiting for my next adventure. It's like one thing leads to another in vlogging. This is the second battery that is almost dead, 16%, and I only recorded that one piece of footage. Honestly, it was probably at like 66% when I started, and I made a couple of attempts before the battery died. And I don't want the battery to die now, so I'm just gonna say adventure continues. Ugh, that beeping was getting on my nerves. Adventure continues. So far vlogging 2 batteries in, about to go to the 3rd. Didn't record a lot of footage. I'll kind of review how long of footage I have when I'm done, but right now I had to lower the f-stop to f1.8 just to be able to get myself. So the focus, I really have a shallow depth of field, which I don't like with this camera, specifically because I can't control whether I'm in focus or not because I can't see myself and there's no autofocus. So that's really a nuisance, but the great thing is that this camera hasn't really been that bad. My only worry is really the autofocus, but the lack of autofocus. But besides that, and the batteries, of course, batteries are like a huge worry. 2 things, batteries and autofocus, but other than that, I don't mind vlogging with this camera. In fact, I'm excited to see the footage. Check it out. Closed?
Yeah.
Ugh. So frustrating.
What should we do? Just go home?
If you want to. Up to you. Okay.
Well, how are they in there?
They probably own the place. Then it would have been good. We're back. I'm on my 3rd battery. I didn't have this one fully charged. I just popped it in. It was already at 30%. But I've noticed that the battery tends to drain even when you have the camera off, which is a little bit sad. Just noticed it. But for a vlogging day, 3 batteries and not really fully. Better than I expected, but I didn't film much either. I imagine if I would have filmed a lot more. If you go with a light setup, it's not a bad vlogging camera. So, this is only half the story. Looks like I got it at least not perfectly balanced, but balanced for the most part. Let's move that aside. I'm just gonna go for a short walk. Even though this camera is lighter than the 5D, the camera itself feels heavier to use and a lot more uncomfortable. When it comes to grading this footage, it's actually pretty easy. Anyway, that's all I got to say for this video. Like, share, and as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys next time. Take care.